Welcome to episode 1 of Real-Time Design. I'm excited about this new series. I am going to take you inside my Photoshop design process. It's going to be completely unedited, uncut footage. The goal of this series is to give you some insight into how I put these designs together, what sorts of things I do when I'm experimenting. So with that, let's get into it. So let's get started. I'm just going to start by dragging in, let's go with this first cutout as a small one, and then we'll drag in a couple more. So I'm kind of liking the idea, because we have these images of him in a white jersey, I'm already thinking white background is probably going to make the most sense with this graphic. Then you get like the pop of red kind of on every single cutout, which I like. And now to size these, you've probably seen me do this before, but I want to bring everything down to the same size head as the other cutouts, and then we'll use this 1.6 ratio. So I'll transform it, multiply by 1.6, and this gives us our medium-sized cutout. And then for our big one, again, I'm going to match the head size the best we can to this one, close enough, and then we'll multiply this by 1.6 as well. So we've got kind of this big, medium, small layout. Right off the bat, I don't love like kind of this gap in the middle. I feel like my eyes are being drawn to this empty space right up here. Maybe we can move this guy up some more. And just to cover like that space between his arm and body. Can move the whole thing up a little bit. Let's fade out these back ones as well. So I'm just going to drop a gradient mask over those. Yeah, something like this looks okay. Let's give foot shadows to our front guy. Go to black brush, shrink this thing down so it's flat. That's very flat. That might be too flat. A little bit more. We'll go into our foot shadows here and just start coloring in area by his feet. And I like to gradually make it bigger as well. I feel like that helps make it realistic when you like start with a small shadow on the points that are closest and darkest, and then fade it out to a little bit lighter but still like clear that there is a shadow. And then you can make a new layer, bring it up even more. And something like this. Group this together. Call it small cutout. And while we're here, might as well bring it through Camera Raw filter. We're going to do this with all the cutouts, but I might just try to use the same settings for all of them. Oh yeah, I like bringing the exposure up. And then while we're here, because there's no blue in this, or there's no blue that we want, we're going to go to the color mixer and drop the saturation of the blues, the aquas. Purple is getting in the jersey a little bit, but I'm okay with it. The magentas, I guess we'll keep, like I don't know if it's supposed to be, I guess there is like a soft gradient on the jersey. So we'll just stick with those kind of key settings. Did I do the texture and clarity? Already forgetting. Effects, I did not. So let's bump the texture and clarity just a little bit. Hit OK, and these are kind of noisy images. So we're gonna see, at such a small size, like I'm not too worried about the noise coming through, so we're just gonna see how this looks, but might have to add a little denoising afterwards. So I'm just copying and pasting these same settings. Yeah, that helps kind of give a brighter feel to all the cutouts, which I like. Where to go from here? Let's fix these skin tones too, because I'm getting darker shade on this front cutout. There's going to be a problem, because normally I'd affect the reds with selective color to mess with the skin tones, but because the jersey is also red, I'd have to look for other options, like in the yellows. Yeah, I'm just trying to get it to match better these other cutouts, but that looks pretty good to me. We can also do some curves layers on these. Just gonna drop these shadows down and start coloring in back to normal sized brush or normal looking brush, no longer flat. Bring the size down, just start brushing some shadows to give a little bit more contrast. We're not going to go crazy with this step because I don't want to take too much time on this. If I didn't have just 30 minutes, I might, but let's just get kind of a general idea of what this could look like with some more interesting shading. So something like this. I always want to make sure if we have like shadows on the floor, kind of shading the lower part that isn't getting hit by the light in theory, like if the light is coming straight down from him, getting the shadows in these lower leg areas is helpful. Let's duplicate that. I'm going to bring this one to a highlights curve just by bringing that point up. Again, we'll put a mask on it, start brushing around. Something like this. We bring the flow down a little bit more. Yeah, something like this is looking pretty good. Just like little spots of contrasty highlights. So I like that for the front one. Let's move on to the other two cutouts. I'm going to do the same treatment, roughly. Again, try not to take too long with this part, but you definitely can in your design. I just want to see what the highlights are going to look like, and then, again, more contrast on these back cutouts. We're not going to worry too much about the part that's fading out. Back to our dark curves. We darken the beard. Always want to brighten the eyes too, if you can. Just helps everything pop a little more. Okay, we'll go to the last one. Again, clipping these on. This is our highlights layer, just on the edges. You can brighten his face a bit. Again, we'll make sure we get that eye as bright as possible. That's looking too harsh. I'm kind of wondering if we even need this arm here. Maybe just dump it. Get rid of it. I'm fine with that. Kind of cleans things up. Let's go back to our soft brush and get some... Is this doing anything? Yes, it's doing a little. Get some darkness on this back cutout as well. Okay. I think this is solid for the player treatment right off the bat. I do want to go back in, change the skin tones. So let's just work on this small one. Go to color mixer and the saturation. Orange is usually your skin tone color. And if I go selective color, there's no orange option. So you can go into these settings instead. We can go for like a somewhat saturated look. Could be interesting. So most of my videos, I plan out the design in advance, so then I can go through step by step how I made everything and kind of recreate the design from scratch. But for these, I have not done that. Uh-oh, which camera raw filter was that? Try that again. Just duplicating these over to the bigger cutouts. Take away that first one, bring in this new one. I'm honestly, it feels so simple, but I'm really liking just this very straightforward layout. I feel like a lot of the work gets done just when you lay out your initial composition. If you're going with a 3-player stack, exactly what the photos are, how they're coming together, that's going to be like 95% of the design. I feel like anything else we add is just going to be like little extra flair elements at this point. Just because I know myself, I'm a sucker for a good minimalist design. We can go ahead and center all these, I guess. Should have done that earlier. But yeah, something like this. I think this looks... Oh no, we messed up the masking on that arm when we moved that. It's because we lost the link when we copied over the camera raw filter settings. I don't know why Photoshop does that, but I've noticed that before. For whatever reason, when you copy over camera raw filter settings, it takes the link away from the mask. So when there's no link, you can't move things in unison with the mask, which is kind of a weird quirk of Photoshop. But this all feels pretty centered to me. I'm wondering what kind of element I want behind this. Could do a shape, just like a circle. Maybe we do some circle text, honestly. I don't want a black circle, but just for the sake of this, let's see what some circle text looks like. So I'm just clicking once on the path, and then we'll type out Pavlianis, handler, number 55. I'm just trying to fill up space. Los Angeles Aviators. I'm running out of things to put. Let's just try that. No, we should have like one more thing. What else does he do? 2023 All-Star? Is that true? 2022 All-Star? 2022 All-Star. Now let's do like all UFA first team. I don't remember if I think he did get first team all UFA. Yeah, I think that's fine. You know, if this isn't the most factually accurate, I feel like a lot of my subscribers are not going to know the difference, and that's okay. Let's pick a good font. Let's try Termina, something wide. It's kind of old reliable. Ooh, I'm kind of liking this semicircle. Now that I've unintentionally created this, I don't mind that at all. Let me just get this to rotate. Isn't that a cool moment when you're just designing and then you figure out something by accident that actually looks pretty good? Maybe make it a little bigger, get some distance. Yeah, this is pretty nice. Maybe we can go to bolder font, Demi. That looks pretty good. Tempted to see what the red looks like, although I think black is going to be pretty clean. Although I don't mind that. Can we do alternating? Is that weird? Is that too much? Red and black. And see how I didn't use the actual Aviators red. I eyedroppered. Oh wait, this should be red. I eyedroppered from the jersey. That's just going to save me time later in color correcting the whole thing. I always want to keep the colors as consistent as possible. It's like, it's maybe a bit much, the alternating colors. Like, it's not totally necessary, but I'm kind of into it. So just for the sake of this being a new, different video, we're going to roll with it. Palviana's handler, number 55, Los Angeles Aviators, all UFA first team. Yeah, I feel like that last one would be better if it was like another description of him or his team or something, but this is fine. So I'm just going to go back to my folder and see what else could make sense in this design. So I have that cut out. Oh yeah, I kind of liked this image. See, I was kind of picturing it just like on a sliver on the right side. Sort of like this when I found it. If I just like draw a box. You know, it's probably not necessary for the way we have the composition set up currently. Yeah, I don't think it really belongs anywhere. Unless we blew it up huge and just got like his face from there. But I don't know. I mean, this is really solid. I'm fine just kind of using these as our main photos and not worrying about the other ones that I pulled. Although I do like that one too. Now, let's keep it simple, sticking with these three. Let's start adding some other elements. I think these palm trees can look pretty good as like a faded background image. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We can just start with it centered and go from there. Let's set these to black and white. I think, unless this whole thing on like a sky background might be interesting. I do have a textures folder that I pulled up in this separate window. Just want to see what kind of clouds I have. Yeah, I mean, the thing with clouds is that we don't want him standing or floating on nothing, so we have to bring up the gradient fade. I don't know, I feel like I like a... I mean, you could go something pretty subtle like this, but to me it's not necessary. I still just like the clean look better. So let's stick with this. Maybe we'll tweak some things, but yeah, let's work with these palm trees. I think, unless the other palm trees photo. I have two of them. This one's slightly different angle, although we're not getting the tops of all the trees. Maybe that's okay. Let's try this one. I'm gonna drag this black and white filter over to these palm trees. We can fade it out and just see what it looks like. Maybe we just do like a kind of like a spotlight gradient fade. Just take a solid color brush, click once in the middle. It's a soft one. Oh, this has to be a 100% flow. I mean, maybe just going like this, and then what happens if we clip this or mask it? Yeah, I mean, that's okay. Honestly, I'm not liking anything we're doing to this background right now, so why force it? Let's just keep it as is. And we have a few other elements we can add. I've got this signature we can play with. This one I'm gonna make that same red color, I think. Unless we could do a gradient on this, honestly. And I know it's kind of like a reddish pink right now. We'll color correct at the end. Still got a little bit of time before we go. Maybe I put this behind the small cutout. Yeah, I think something there probably looks good. Could tilt it too. So it's like a clean little scribble in the middle of the design. It's always a fun element to add the signature, if you have it. If you don't, you can look up images. I have a different video on how to bring in signatures to Photoshop. So if you're looking to do that, I think it's worthwhile. It can add a nice touch. Just playing with the gradient here, I don't know. I don't know if we need a gradient. It's not bad. It's not bad. Gradient or solid color. We'll go with the gradient. I am curious what would happen if we do a little bit of a radial blur on this. See, I kind of like that. It gives a little bit of motion to the signature, maybe like it was just written or just has like some sense of depth. One thing we could do with the palm trees, I've seen some other graphics, is like put little palm tree leaves in the corners blurred out. None of the pictures I have, I don't think, unless I have a different, I don't know, these are the same ones. I feel like I have, okay, like these types of palm trees. You know, we could try something just to get a little bit of green in the image. If we just put a blur on these and can go into the blending options, take away all the whites so we can see through it. But maybe this is interesting. See, the thing is, I don't want to cover any of this text, so I'd move this top one up. Maybe we can run with just this top one. Masking that out. Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like it necessarily goes with this type of graphic and composition that we currently have going. Like, he is just kind of standing on a white background. Maybe if I gave him like some sand, like some beach sand to stand on, it'd make more sense to see palm trees in the corners. So again, I'm leaning towards simpler is better, but we can try, I don't know, maybe one more in this corner. Yeah, I don't mind it. It's interesting. I feel like I don't often do things like this where I put something in the corner just for depth, but it is kind of fun. I mean, is there anything we could do to get him to stand on some sand? I feel like I don't have any sand readily available. We do have this. Can maybe work with this. I don't know why this photo is so like heavily edited. It's not going to be my favorite to work with, but bear with me. Let's just see what happens. Just taking my pen tool, masking out. Man, that was bad. Let's just take a rough selection like this and crop that image to it. Put this behind, and then, I don't know, can we fill this downward? Probably. Content aware fill. I feel like this would be a great application for it. There we go. All right. That's nice. So we have some sand for him to stand on. Pictured it brighter, maybe more beige. This is maybe a nothing rabbit hole that we're going down, but let's just see. I still feel like for where I have this graphic right now, I don't think putting the sand here and putting the palm trees would be enough to finish this graphic in 30 minutes. So I'm just not going to do it. Let's go back to our pretty minimal look here, and we'll start adding on some textures and finishing effects. I think it's time. Texture-wise, let's see. Got some light leaks we can play with. I think we can also make this more of like an off-white background too. So I see I'm coming up on time, so maybe I'll try and speed through this next part relatively. Can always come back to this design and finish it later, but for this video, I promised you 30 minutes. You're gonna get 30 minutes. I think we needed a logo or something at the top, so let's drop in this aviator's logo. I think this is the right one. Yes. Put that nice and small at the top. Maybe we can do the league logo as well on the bottom. It's probably not totally necessary, but let's just see how it looks. Let's do this one. Yeah, we'll do this one. Okay, kind of nice to have logos on either side, just sandwiching the whole thing. Nice and small, out of the way. Can even make this aviators one smaller too. And then I'm trying to match these margins. It's about like 2.5 boxes from either end. Yeah, I think that's okay. I mean, maybe we don't even need them. We'll keep them. Background color. Let's mess with the whites on the whole thing. I'm just going to take a selective color and start tweaking this. You can really get extreme with these tweaks, but I like doing this at the end just to get all the whites on the same page. So maybe we go with kind of like a pinkish yellow color, maybe. Yeah, I feel like this works. Kind of warms the whole thing up a bit. And then let's see if there are any other textures we can add to make the background just more, just give it something. What do we have? We have this fabric. Probably not that. We got these dots we can play with. Let's throw these dots in. Just to give some subtleness to the background. Set these to multiply, maybe drag it behind everything, and fade it out a good amount. Yeah, I like that. Just kind of gives it a slightly more interesting feel. And then let's make a new layer on top of everything. Convert for smart filters, camera raw filter, and we're gonna add some overall adjustments to the whole thing. Can add maybe some shadows, lift the whites. And if we go super clarity, that's how it would look. Or very little clarity, I think somewhere upping it a little bit looks pretty good. And then we can always vignette the corners here. Add some grain. And maybe we play with the curves. Can always try boosting the blacks just to see what that looks like. Honestly, doesn't seem to be doing much, so let's leave that alone. Maybe we'll do that outside of camera raw filter. Yeah, I think we'll leave it as is, and then maybe we add like a last curves adjustment just by dropping a few points on here. Lifting these blacks. And maybe we brighten it a little bit more. But I don't know. This feels pretty good. Doesn't feel totally finished to me. Maybe I just didn't love this color adjustment. Let's try it without that. Same effects. Go back, smart filters. And getting our curves back on. I mean, I feel like some color adjustment might be good, but maybe it's a color lookup that I'm looking for instead. Can try a candlelight cube to give this whole thing kind of a washed out, yellowy look. I don't mind it. Looks pretty dramatic, honestly. So maybe we just run with it. Now I'm not liking how emphasized these dots are in the background. So let's try one more time with stamping that layer and just dropping these down even more. Command Option Shift E, by the way, is a shortcut to bring everything onto its own layer. And then we're just going to copy these camera raw settings over again. And yeah, I didn't want that. But this feels pretty good to me. So my camera cut out on me, realized that it cuts out after 30 minutes of continuous shooting. This is the final result of that half-hour poster design. I am pretty happy with it. I don't know if I'm for sure set on this being the final iteration of what this poster turns out to be. I like it. I like the layout. I think it's simple, it's effective. Really like the semicircle of text I kind of stumbled into by accident. Thanks as always for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.